What is going on, Sports Wars? We're here and we're live for some Monday evening quarterback. Kind of a crazy weekend with all the games on Saturday that we had. And then, of course, 3 big games on Sunday. Some games that were more competitive and better than others. Some games that were competitive but still really bad. But either way, there's a lot to take out of this weekend. We are headed into the final push for the playoffs. Only 2 games left in the regular season. Well, except for the 2 teams that are playing tonight. They've got 3 games left. But we're going to get into all the craziness, including Tua back in concussion protocol. Brady, another comeback against a horrendous fucking team. And another week of, Beardo's Giants not able to get it done. So we'll talk about that. Beardo, how's it going, man?
It's going pretty good, man. Just chilling. Just got done cooking a pretty amazing tomahawk steak, but excited for Monday Night Football. See what the Colts and Jeff Saturday can do, but happy to be here.
Well, they got big dick Nick Foles. They got Nick Foles. They made the move away from Matt Ryan to Nick Foles. So, they're going to face the Chargers. The Chargers, which they seem to only play 1-score games. We'll see what this one ends up being. And we'll get to our predictions for that. But we have a couple of things that we found out just today that were going on that we got to talk about. Beardo, you made a video earlier today.
Yep.
But I can't say it's unexpected. It's not an unexpected move. But the Broncos fire Nathaniel Hackett with 2 games left in the regular season. This follows them getting absolutely annihilated by the Los Angeles Rams. But Russell Wilson is still sitting there with a $250,000 contract. You still give up draft picks for Russell Wilson. So I don't know, what firing Nathaniel Hackett really does for this team at this point. In fact, the last game Russell Wilson didn't play, they won. And Russell Wilson turned the ball over in their own red zone several times in this game to get out for the Rams to get after that big lead. Is it all on Nathaniel Hackett? Does he deserve the brunt of the blame for this? Or is it Russell Wilson?
I think it's a mixture of both for sure. And interestingly enough, the interim head coach for Denver is a guy that Nathaniel Hackett brought in, and his responsibility was play clock management to make sure that the play gets relayed in time offensively from the offensive coordinator, which was probably Nathaniel Hackett, to Russell Wilson, making sure that the period of time he was the play clock coordinator, and that is the new interim head coach for Denver.
Well, to be fair, he has more experience than Jeff Saturday, so there is that.
But it's just I think that they're giving up on this season. I don't see any point of having Russell Wilson play the rest of the year. Why? They're 4-11. They just fired their head coach. They're not sticking with this guy for another year. He's an interim guy, and solely that. And Russell Wilson, he's done. This offensive line does not want to play for Russell Wilson. And we saw Brett Rippin, however you pronounce his last name. You see the fight that he got in with the offensive line yesterday?
Yeah, I did see that.
It was over, so Russell Wilson got knocked down, and they did not help Russell Wilson up. So Brett Rippin went over and, kind of scolded the offensive line and said, hey, he's your starting quarterback. Pick him the fuck up. And then the one dude completely shoved Brett Rippin and said, hey, you're not the guy. You're not the guy to be kind of speaking up about this. The Broncos are in complete disarray. Their offense is anemic. They traded away their best defensive player. It's only a matter of time before they trade away Jerry Jeudy, before they get rid of some of their other assets. This, to me, seems like a complete rebuild mode, and unfortunately, due to the fact that they're paying Russell Wilson so much money, this rebuild is going to revolve around Russell Wilson. He's going to be the guy. I wouldn't be surprised if they consult Russell Wilson to see who he wants to bring in. Russell Wilson is going to almost maybe play that LeBron James role, where Russell Wilson's going to say, I want this guy, I want this offensive coordinator, I want this head coach. There's just so much money invested in Russell Wilson, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think that that's the move, but I think that the Broncos are so desperate and they're paying him so much money that that's the way they're going to go. They're going to say, who are you comfortable with? What kind of play style do you want to go with? And he's going to dictate the next scheme, the next regime that they bring into Denver.
Yeah, I think that might be what they do because you can't move him really at this point in time. You can't like move Russell Wilson, try to undo what you've done. You have to make it work with Russell Wilson. You don't
Correct.
really have another choice right now. So what coach are they going to bring in? I saw some people throwing Sean Payton around. I don't think Sean Payton wants to go into that. Like I don't think he would want to come in to the season that they just had with a quarterback like Russell Wilson. If I was a betting person and Sean Payton has a job next year, I would put odds that Tom Brady would be his quarterback personally. That's the odds that I would put wherever that ends up being. Because I do feel like those guys, clearly based on the rumors we heard about the all Miami and everything, they want to work together. We'll see if they can get it done. We'll see if Tom Brady still wants to go after this year. A lot of criticism for Tom Brady, some deserved, I think some undeserved this year. But the Broncos, that game they had against LA, Baker Mayfield, it's like his third start for the Rams, and he torched them. The
Yep.
Rams torched the Broncos. Now, I see a lot of people like, you can't blame Russell Wilson for that. Well, Russell Wilson turned the ball over several times, directly leading to multiple Rams touchdowns in that first half alone. And all of a sudden, they were just behind. They were down by 30 points going into halftime. And this is a defense that's been incredible. Like, this defense has been rock solid all year long. You can't sit there and blame them for getting put in these terrible situations game after game after game by their franchise quarterback. And if you thought, hey, maybe they'll just pull Russell Wilson and tank, I guess they could, but they'd be thinking to give the Seattle Seahawks a better pick. That's the sad state of affairs for the Denver Broncos.
It's almost the same situation for last week for the Colts when with that Vikings comeback last week, and it's like, oh well, you can't blame Matt Ryan. Well, it's like, okay, well they were up 33-0 and they only scored a field goal in the second half. So it's like, if you can score more points, that puts you in a better position. So yeah, the defense did let up, but it's last week with the Colts with Matt Ryan, and this week that's a good comparison that I can make with Russell Wilson. It's like, yeah, Russell Wilson doesn't play defense, but then again, you can always score more points.
Yeah, if you only put up like 50 yards and a half, certainly I think you can put some blame on the play of that offense for giving up that massive comeback victory. There's no doubt about that. Eric K for 5, the amount of wide open people Wilson missed, you would have thought he played for the other team. He did throw some great passes to the other team. Yeah, at one point in time, I think there were at one point in time there were 8 passes thrown in the game, and the Rams caught 7 of them. But unfortunately, a couple of those were from Russell Wilson as well. So it was a really bad start for the Broncos. Even Patrick Starr was roasting him. From fucking SpongeBob, Patrick was roasting Russell Wilson on the Nickelodeon broadcast.
Those Nickelodeon games still, they crack me
terrible.
up.
They're terrible. Like, some of the comments made during are really stupid. I hate them.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. Eric K for 10 gift subs as well. 10 gift memberships. Appreciate you, Eric.
Thank you.
Shout out. And then Bert for $5. I'm surprised he didn't cover the celebrity chef Salt Bae disgracefully invading Argentinian World Cup trophy celebration. What a D-bag. I saw it. I can only care so much about the World Cup stuff, but I did see the Salt Bae thing. I did see that. I did see it, Bert. I want to talk about another game that we had, yesterday. Not very many games, only 3 games on Sunday because it was Christmas Day. The majority of games, the slate of games, were played on Saturday, which makes for a weird weekend, but a pretty cool weekend. Once you don't have college football, the NFL is really opening up those Saturday games, which they just that means they get to dominate 4 days out of the sports news cycle: Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, which is pretty crazy. But the Dolphins were not able to hang on against the Green Bay Packers at home in Miami. First half, they certainly looked good, but then the Packers did come back and beat them. But really what everybody's talking about when it comes to this game is Tua Tagovailoa, because he had 3 fourth-quarter interceptions down the stretch. He had a complete and total meltdown in the game. And now all of a sudden, we get this. We get this news. Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa in concussion protocol after showing symptoms on Monday. Now, if it is determined that he had a concussion, that would be 3 this year that we know of that Tua had. obviously he had the one where he probably shouldn't have been playing, and then he had the bad one where he started making gang signs with his hands, completely knocked out, ends up, I think, getting stretchered out for that game, taken to the hospital. I saw a couple hits in this game personally that I thought, oh, wow, he took a shot there. But, he stayed in the game, blah, 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 all this stuff. But now we hear this from Mike McDaniel. Head coach Mike McDaniel announced Tua Tagovailoa is in the NFL's concussion protocol. Tua, who missed weeks 5 and 6 due to the concussion, told doctors on Monday he was feeling concussion-like symptoms, McDaniel added. McDaniel said he was uncertain when Tagovailoa suffered a potential concussion during the team's 26-20 loss on Sunday to the Packers. He said he was uncertain if Tua had indeed suffered a concussion, but he has the symptoms. This clip started going around, and we don't need any audio for this. We'll just show this. Somebody's phone. Here's Tua down right here.
Oof.
And he bonks his head. Very similar to how he went down on that one play, back of his head. Boom, right there. Now, that's not much. Like, this is the type of play you see a million times a game. But if Tua got a concussion for this, everybody needs to ask themselves, is this guy going to be able to play in the NFL? Like, Tua is fragile. He was fragile in college for multiple reasons, not just concussion or anything like that. It was an ankle or a hip or whatever it was. Now, I mean, if this is enough to give this guy concussion protocol, and now people are going to say, well, that's the reason he threw 3 interceptions in the fourth quarter, not because he had a meltdown. I don't know exactly the reason, but this is what everybody's going to point to. If that's enough to give you a concussion, if that's enough to knock you out, are you actually going to be an NFL player long term?
Yeah, there's a few things on this. I mean, there's the old wives' tale where once you get a concussion, it's easier for you to get more concussions after that, whether that's proven fact or not. Like, that's the old wives' tale.
And there is, to be clear, there is no actual study that can prove that. There's nothing that is actually provable out there, even though a lot of people suspect it. People say it, people will say it in the NFL to this day. Once you have one, you're more likely to have others. What seems to be more likely in all reality, because you can't prove that connection, is that there are some people that are predisposed to having concussions.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yeah. And then the second thing on that note is these players study film. I mean, part of their job is to study film apart from their play on the field. They study film all week long. And Tua, he kind of needs to learn from his mistakes on this situation happening, on falling down when he is getting brought down. He wasn't form tackled on that play. He was necessarily kind of almost tripped up and he was taken down, but he had more or less control on where on his body, I don't know if you want to replay it or not, of where directly on his body where he fell. And that is the third time this season where all of his concussions resulted of his head bouncing off of the ground. I mean, yeah, you kind of run into the area where if he lands on his side, maybe he can injure his shoulder or he can injure his collarbone. But dude needs to he could have easily, he turned his body to the fact where he landed on his back. He could have very easily, in my opinion, watching this, he could have controlled his momentum in a certain direction where he could have landed on his left arm, on his throwing arm, and landed on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, regardless, it's his throwing arm, but shit, I mean, at this point, wouldn't you rather him, land on his throwing arm than having him bop his head off of the ground again, after the concussion he suffered earlier this season? So it's you have to be self-aware, you have to learn and practice falling. I remember when I played football, I didn't play college football, but I played high school football for 4 years. And youth football, they teach you fumble drills, they teach you Oklahoma drills, pancake drills, they teach you how to fall in certain situations on how to fall and recover a ball. And in this situation, you got to think that Tua is a professional, and the concussions that he has suffered this season, he should learn and be practicing, hey, how can I fall better, man? How can I fall and so that my head isn't exposed? Because the 2 previous concussions that he had, he bounced the back of his head off of the ground. And you kind of got to learn to, maybe it's better if I land this way so I won't injure injure my head. I won't get a concussion again. You might suffer a different injury. Maybe you don't, but it's better than having a concussion. And in that situation, that video, that clip I just saw, he totally had control of the momentum of where he landed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. And this is a problem if he can't go. I guess you get old Bridgewater out there again. I think he's the backup still. I think he's healthy right now because, of course, he went down, I think, with a concussion in the game that he was replacing Tua in. And I should clarify that, like, the whole another concussion, there is, if you're not healed, you're more susceptible to get one. Like, that is proven.
Right.
That is known. If your brain is not healed
Right.
from your first concussion, I more mean if you had one in year 1, are you more likely to have one in year 3 after you're actually fully recovered? Like, there's no actual link between those things. But if this is Tua, if this is just who he is, I don't know what kind of future he has in the NFL. If you're constantly having to worry about this stuff, you're constantly you're getting criticized too. Like, they're going to go hard now anytime they decide to bring him. Oh, you got to protect him. You got to how much can you do? The doctors tell you he's good to go. You put him out there. Yep. And who knows what the deal will be with Tua, with this Dolphins team, who were sitting like so pretty in terms of the playoff picture. Now, all of a sudden, I mean, they got to win their last 2 games to get into the playoffs now. And at least I think they either got to win their last 2 or they got to win 1 and get some help. So we shall see what happens with this Miami Dolphins team.
Yep.
But yeah, 3. If that actually is a concussion, and that's 3 concussions within this year that were actually diagnosed, that doesn't spell good news for Tua's future as an
or
NFL
the league
quarterback.
or the league as far as like quarterbacks go, and like roughing the passers and stuff like that, them being totally soft as far as roughing the passer calls go. Like, I mean, it's a Tua rule. It's been coined kind of like the Tua rule this season, the egregious roughing the passer calls on the defense. And yeah, and it's kind of the other side of the coin. You're right. Like, as far as Tua should be studying how to land correctly, these defenses are studying on how to, I don't want to call bounty gate on this and saying, how do I take out the starting quarterback so the backup comes in? But it's like, they're going to learn that certain situations where Tua is going to be weak, and, how can I gain an advantage?
Yeah. And there's also some like really stupid people. No roughing the passer on this. It would be for any other quarterback, but it's Tua, so you're allowed to dive at the back of its legs. To be very clear, at this point in time, outside of the pocket, Tua Tagovailoa is a running back once he breaks the pocket like that. And he literally was releasing the ball as this guy is diving. Like, what can you fucking possibly do? How could you call this roughing the fucking passer? Like, there is nothing wrong with this at all. But maybe Tua ends up getting a concussion out of it. But there's a lot of fucking pussies right now and a lot of retards that are fans. It just happens. So what are you going to do? But on to some other games. Let's start with, well, I guess we can talk the Thursday game. It seemed like that happened forever ago with the games on Saturday and Sunday.
Seriously.
But the Jags did absolutely handle the Jets. Zach Wilson ends up getting benched in that game for their, 3rd or 4th string quarterback? 4th string, it's got to be at this time.
Yeah.
Because, you had Joe Flacco for a while. You had Mike White for a while. And now, what's the guy? Stedler? Strevler.
It's like Chris Strevler.
Yeah. And, I mean, the Jets, Zach Wilson's a disaster for them. This is a guy they spent a 2nd overall pick on. Yeah. And now I don't know how Robert Saleh goes back to him. You know what I mean? I don't know what you can see out of him to make you think that you should put him back in there. At least as long as Mike White's healthy.
Well, a few hours ago, I think they did confirm that Mike White is cleared and he will start for the Jets this weekend. But no, you're right. And Zach Wilson is going to fall into the Ryan Leaf, Jamarcus Russell level bust category. Like, it is so. But what's interesting is like what the day after, like on Friday, Robert Saleh said this isn't the last you're going to see of Zach Wilson. And then Mike White gets cleared to play. He's the starter. And Zach Wilson isn't even dressing next weekend. He's not even dressing. He's going to be inactive. It's going to be Mike White and Joe Flacco and Strevler. Strevler is going to be the 3rd string quarterback, or probably actually rather the 2nd string quarterback. But Zach Wilson is inactive. He's not going to dress next weekend. So the fact that Robert Saleh said, oh yeah, this isn't the last you're going to see of Zach Wilson, and then literally a few days later, oh, Zach Wilson isn't even going to dress, because I don't think Zach Wilson sees he's not going to see the facility as far as the New York Jets go next year. He's going to be playing for a different team as a backup or a practice squad guy. Zach Wilson's career is nearly done, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know how you go back to him. Like, I just don't.
No.
I think that he has shown that he's not capable on the field. And then when you look at some of the off-field stuff he's done and said about his teammates, about the defense, he said all the right things this time at the podium, where he said, yeah, the fans have a right to fucking boo me because we've been shit. But I don't know if it's enough to offset what he's done before. I think that team would be right to just move off him and stay off of him at this point in time, which sucks. I don't know if they're ready to give up on that second overall pick. But if you're not seeing it on the field, then what the fuck is the point in continuing this charade? So we'll see.
Yep, I agree.
Then on Saturday, Christmas Eve, we had a big slate of games, including the Bills absolutely demolishing the Bears. I don't know how much there is to take away from this, other than Josh Allen continues to throw bad interceptions. The Bills, they're lucky that they have such a high-powered offense that they can overcome stuff like that. But I do think a concern for the Bills should be Josh Allen turning the ball over this year. And it's different from last year. It wasn't turning the ball over that much last year. I think it's noticeably different this year. Also, Josh Allen putting his body on the line all the time.
Yep.
Can't tell you how often Josh Allen goes up in the air and gets blasted. And he's a big dude, and that's fine. It's great. It's awesome that Josh Allen is such a big dude and can do that.
Yep.
But I don't know if you want your guy like that doing it all of the time, with 6 minutes left in the second quarter when they're up 14, putting your body on the line. You got to be a little smarter, both with yourself, physically, or with the ball, if they want to have the Super Bowl season that I think a lot of people expected them to have this year.
And I think they're feeling a lot of that Super Bowl pressure this season because they were the favorites going into the season over the Chiefs. They were the favorites. This was going to be Josh Allen's MVP season. They were going to be the number one overall seed. They were going to have to go through Buffalo for the playoffs, and then they were going to go to the Super Bowl. That was set in stone in the beginning of the season. And it's almost like they're playing they're playing like those are the expectations, but they're giving into the pressure almost. Like Josh Allen, to me, I think we talked a little bit about it last night during the Mario Kart stream. They are not as impressive as they were last year, and I think maybe this game against the Bears, they're trying to get back on track, get that pace where they are in that kind of sort of weird unbeatable mode that you need to be in the playoffs. But I agree. Josh Allen doesn't need to be taking those risks. He is. I mean, Stephon Diggs is awesome, but Josh Allen is their most talented player on offense, without a doubt. I
think that when you look at them, we got to be honest. They're 12-3 now. They've had a great fucking season.
Right.
They have had a great season
with some weird losses, though. They've had some weird losses and some games that are way closer than they should have been. I think that's really what people are looking at, the quality of their wins, which, usually that's a college football thing. The NFL, a win is a win, doesn't matter. But when you're looking at the totality of things, it does feel like sometimes they end up in these games that they should just stomp on people's throats, and it shouldn't be a big deal. But, they are 12-3. They have made some runs in the playoffs these past couple of years, continue to improve. Last year, they were 10? Now I want 10-7, 11-6 or something. So they already have a better year. Right. But I do just worry about some of those turnovers that we have seen from Josh Allen. At the end of the day, he still had a great season, and they've had a great season. But when you're talking about, hey, you're the Super Bowl favorites, you got to play like the Super Bowl favorites. We may be heading for another Bills-Chiefs showdown. We may be heading for a Bills-Bengals showdown or a Chiefs-Bengals showdown. That's kind of the way I see it in the AFC. I think those are the three teams. I don't know if we're going to see anybody else. And if those are the teams, either way, either one of those matchups is probably going to be really fucking good and really good for us as football fans. So. Oh yeah. The AFC is more solidified, and you're certain of like the top 3 teams or the top 2 teams in the AFC, whereas the NFC, man, there's just so many possibilities. I mean, that the playoff picture in the NFC is still so much up in the air. These past 2 weeks really matter in the NFC, and it's really interesting. I mean, if you go back and think, like, yeah, it kind of boils down to this every single year in the past 3 to 2 weeks of the NFL regular season, where it's like, what if, if these teams lose and if these teams went out, this will be the playoff picture. But it's like this year seems to really like be up in the air for the NFC.
Well, one of the reasons it's really up in the air is because one, all 4 NFC East teams are technically still in the playoff picture right now. But 2, for the NFC South, all 4 of those teams could be in the playoff picture. Yep. I don't think any of those teams are eliminated yet. I think that Falcons, the Falcons, the Panthers, and the Saints are all still alive, while Tampa Bay, if they win their next game, they may secure it. I'm not sure. Yep. Not sure what Tampa Bay has to do, but all those teams, these bad teams, are still in the playoff hunt, which makes it really weird in the NFC.
Yeah, and it's crazy that there's going to be likely
Falcons have been eliminated, probably with that win for the Buccaneers last night. But the Panthers and the Saints, I think, are still alive.
And the Bucks, they play Carolina, and then the week after that they play Atlanta. So they have two divisional games the last 2 weeks, and I think if they beat Carolina, they win the division.
I think that, like the chat said, the Falcons are done, but if the Bucks, we'll see. They got to fucking win a game. That's what the Bucks have to do, and that's a tall task for this Tampa Bay team right now, to be quite honest with you. We may as well talk about that. Tom Brady engineers another come-from-behind victory to beat another terrible team. Another terrible team in the Arizona Cardinals with their third-string quarterback, Trace McSorley, and they were winning. They had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. And once again, we see a team with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that showed no life on offense until the last 8 minutes or so, when they just go no huddle and let Tom Brady do Tom Brady things. That has resulted in a ton of criticism for Byron Leftwich and Todd Bowles. Byron Leftwich, the offensive coordinator, Todd Bowles, the head coach. I have seen so much fucking chatter in the past, 24 hours especially, about these guys. If I just go to Twitter, I just did a search for Todd Bowles, Byron Leftwich. If this franchise wants to be good again, it'll have to be without Byron Leftwich and Todd Bowles. If Bowles isn't gone by the end of the season, he will be before he finishes his deal and only sets the team back more. Got to rip the Band-Aid off. I don't know what this whole video clip on ESPN is. This is Todd Bowles talking about Byron Leftwich. Apparently, they have problems with what each other's doing. There's some friction between these guys, blah, blah, blah. Here's Todd Bowles and Byron Leftwich fighting in the parking lot at the Cardinals Stadium. 2 clowns.
It's about accurate.
It is mind-boggling that Todd Bowles and Byron Leftwich are still a head coach, offensive coordinator duo in the National Football League. So this was a series of 3 plays here. 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, and 4th and 1. Leonard Fournette up the middle for no gain. Leonard Fournette up the middle for no gain. Leonard Fournette up the middle for no gain. While you do have Tom Brady. Bucks got the ball. This is just more and more criticism you see. Everywhere you're seeing criticism for Todd Bowles. Here's some memes right here. You get Dumb and Dumber memes for these guys. People are hoping. They've got it ready. It's breaking that they're going to be fired. What do you think? Where's all the blame for Tampa Bay's problems lie? It can't obviously lie on one person, one individual. Tom Brady's getting a lot of it. Todd Bowles, Byron Leftwich getting a lot of it. Offensive line's getting a lot of it. Is there really some criticism that should be had for this head coach and this offensive coordinator, or is it just a personnel problem?
It's personnel. It's their roster. It's their IR, their injuries, and everything. Their offensive line has taken such a hit this preseason, this season. I mean, heck, they lost another lineman last night, and he dislocated his kneecap last night. It looked really bad. Their offensive line has had a lot of problems. Obviously, losing Gronk and Antonio Brown is a huge hit. I mean, Antonio Brown, regardless of some of the stupid shit that he says and does, a very talented, fast player with great hands, and Gronk is a complete difference maker. When you lose those two guys on your Super Bowl roster, and then, you have Tom Brady, who is arguably the GOAT, and one guy at 46 years old can only do so much. So I think it's only a matter of time. This might be a stretch, but I mean, it maybe with the Bucks, maybe on another team with Tom Brady. But there's going to be sooner or later, I think, when does Tom Brady start calling his own fucking plays? When does Tom Brady start controlling the offense and calling his own fucking plays? Yeah, you have an offensive coordinator, that's fine. But when does Brady take control of the offense, calls the plays that he wants to call, and take total control over it, almost like a Peyton Manning, where you are in control the entire drive? Tom Brady, I think, deserves that. I think that's part of the reason why he left New England, is because he didn't get that kind of respect from Belichick. And when does he take control? I think sooner with his next team that he plays for, or if he stays in Tampa. I think you got to bring that into question, especially with what you just showed with Byron Leftwich, who Tom Brady has a more decorated career than Byron Leftwich, and the fact that Byron Leftwich is the offensive coordinator. What do you think?
I think that I don't think that Todd Bowles has done anything to show that he's a great head coach in any stretch. He was a disaster for the New York Jets. A lot of people are a disaster for the New York Jets. But he got handed this job when Bruce Arians decided he was going to step down and take like a executive position with the Bucks in a really fucking weird way. There were rumors of friction between Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich last year. And I think that I don't think that you can discount the fact that how many times have we seen this year in the last 5 minutes of the game, a Bucks offense that couldn't put up any points, all of a sudden when they go no huddle, start making things happen.
Yes.
Now whether that's because it's just bad play calling, or whether because just the mode of going to no huddle is effective with this team, who can't really hold up to a pass rush, who Tom Brady needs to get the ball out quick, is it just that pace works better for this team at this point in time? Maybe. But I don't think, when I look at Tom Brady this year, I don't see a guy who is like fallen off. I see a guy who is being forced to get the ball out really fucking quick before plays are able to develop. I see a guy who's not getting any time, a large portion of his dropbacks. And I also see a guy who's not getting much help from the run game. Now, luckily, we had a couple big runs that got bust off during that game against the Cardinals that really helped them out. But for the most part, and Leonard Fournette even came out and said, I think he's been dealing with a Liz Frank injury or something like that. So maybe that's part of the reason. But you can only do so much with a decimated line. So maybe you got to continue to play to your strengths in terms of, if Tom Brady has to get the ball out quick, then let's make sure we're running shit to get the ball out quick.
Yeah. And
it seems like when they go no huddle, that's what they're doing. But somehow this team is in all likelihood going to host a playoff game, which is pretty fucking crazy to think about.
Yeah, and just to add on a little bit, is that kind of plays into the difference maker that Gronk was. Gronk was literally a different he was a different variable to that offense. Like, when Gronk is on offense, that defense has to prepare entirely differently. And when you take him away, you're not looking at Kyle Rudolph the same way you're looking at Gronk when he's on the field. So you're more of the defense's attention is going to focus on your Mike Evans, on your Chris Godwin, on whoever they have. But when you put Gronk out there, it's a completely different game, and it's going to open up so many other options for your Evans or for Gronk, because Gronk has has an uncanny ability of being wide open. So, I mean, when you take him away, it's going to be completely different offense, completely different game you're playing.
And just to be clear, Gronkowski did tweet a couple days ago that he's bored.
Yep.
So obviously there's a lot of speculation going on. Is he going to return? I mean, he tweeted that he had to know the fucking reaction. He had to know what the reaction
knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing for sure.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. I wouldn't bet on Tom Brady in the playoffs with this team the way it's constructed, but it would be damn hard to bet against him in a home playoff game.
That's the thing. And that's
we'll
the
say
thing.
that.
If Dallas has to travel to Tampa for that wild card weekend, that's the thing, man. Even though Dallas is going to have what are they 10-3, 10-4?
Something like that. Yeah, they're gonna. Yeah, they won't catch the Eagles. So
no, they're not going to catch the Eagles. But you're going to have Dallas, who's going to be possibly an 11-win team, travel to Tampa, and they're going to have a losing record. And Tampa, they might have a really good shot at winning that playoff game.
Yeah, and
it's
now
going to be like a Saints
Bucks,
Seahawks situation.
Well, the Bucks beat them the first game of the season. Dak got injured in that game, but the Buccaneers did win that game at Dallas. So obviously a lot of things have changed this year. A lot of injuries have happened. A lot of developments happened for both these guys. So who knows? But it was a crazy game. The Chiefs beat the Seahawks pretty handily as well at Arrowhead Stadium. Kansas City Chiefs now 12-3, sitting the same record that Buffalo has. Patrick Mahomes may be one of the front runners for MVP. I think a lot of people may be throwing up Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes. Of course, Josh Allen's still in the conversation, but I mean, not too much for me to take away from this. I think Geno Smith has had a little bit of a falling off, from where he started this season for sure. Still, I think performing way better than people expected from Geno Smith.
Yeah, I mean, there was early talks of him being comeback player of the year. And to me, I always thought like comeback player meant like you were injured the year before. Like you come off an injury, you have a great year the next year.
Well, I think Michael Vick won comeback player, didn't he?
Did he really?
I thought he did.
Comeback player coming back from prison?
I thought he did.
Maybe he did. Maybe he did. I can't remember, but to me, I always thought it was like coming off of injury. But there was early talk of Geno Smith winning comeback player of the year, and it's like coming back from what, like sucking, coming back from like being a backup. And yeah, the Seahawks played extremely well to begin the season, but shit happens. Film study. You get film on a guy in a certain regime and a certain scheme that the Seahawks are running with Geno Smith, and the more film, the more stuff that comes out, teams catch on.
Yeah. Mike Vick won in 2010 with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Was that his first year back? I
don't know. Comeback player of the year is not it usually is reserved for people that have injuries, but it's also people that fucking are just they've been playing shitty. They were shitty and then they had a great season. You know what I mean? That's what it's not necessarily supposed to be just like fucking season-ending injury stuff.
That's usually what it is, though.
It's usually what it ends up being because, hey, if you have an MVP candidate, say like an Andrew Luck, who's fucking out an entire year, and then he comes back, he's going to play at a crazy level, and he wasn't able to play at that crazy level the year before. So,
shit. I mean, Adrian Peterson just completely like bypassed the whole comeback player of the year and won MVP off of a ACL injury.
Yeah, and then like Alex Smith won it for Washington. I think
that was after
his like horrific leg injury.
Terrible, dude.
And he came back, and I was scared to death seeing that dude play.
Oh yeah,
I was scared to death seeing that dude play football.
Dude, that whole injury, that whole Alex Smith injury when he broke his leg, and JJ Watt broke his leg. Have you seen like the whole history?
They did
the weird coincidences?
They did ESPN like 30 for 30 on it or something, and
it was like the same
a normal person,
day.
they would have amputated his fucking leg, to be honest.
Well, no, like the weird thing relating to Joe Theismann.
Oh,
it was like the same yard line, the same date, the same week, the same like kind of leg break against a former defensive player of the year. Because Lawrence Taylor broke Joe Theismann's leg and JJ Watt broke Alex Smith's leg, and it was like the same yard line, same week, same. It was absolutely like the uncanniness of that whole injury was super fucking bizarre.
Yeah. And there you go. I think Adrian Peterson also got votes for comeback player of the year after getting suspended in 2014. So yeah, there you go. All right, on to, and I know this is a game you want to talk about, Giants at Vikings. The Giants had to make it interesting. The only way the Vikings feel comfortable is when they have to go on a last-minute drive to win a game. And once again, they fucking did it. Like, the Vikings just keep doing this. I don't know if it's sustainable, but I mean, they beat your Giants. on
Yeah.
Saturday.
Hey, the Giants had a really nice comeback. Again, we were down a little bit. We came back, tied it up. We were down again, tied it back up. We scored a touchdown late in the fourth quarter. We did what we had to do. We scored a 2-point conversion. It's tough, man. The Giants did what they had to do. Daniel Jones played well. Saquon played well. And we tied it up. And, the Vikings just they made a 62-yard field goal to win the game. There's only maybe 5 kickers in the NFL that can make a 62-yard field goal. And this dude, that was his 6th game-winning field goal this season. So it's man, just really unfortunate circumstances for the Giants. They did what they had to do, unfortunately. The Vikings had the ball with just a little bit of time left on the clock. They ran out the clock to kick the game-winning field goal. Time expired, and game is over. I don't think this means that the Giants suck. They just got a little unlucky in this game, and the luck going the Vikings' way is kind of how it's been for the Vikings all season long.
It's funny because I think last year they lost 7, one-possession games or something like that. This year's been the complete opposite. Now, when you live on that fucking razor's edge, you're going to have these things. Same thing like Derek Carr did. When Derek Carr came and kind of took the league by storm, and they won 7 or 8 one-possession games, in the final, minutes and stuff. Well, that kind of balanced out the next year. I think we're seeing that balancing act happening for the Vikings. But the difference is now, when the Vikings get in this situation, it's like they're comfortable. Because they've been there, they've done that, they've seen that. They've had the biggest comeback in NFL history against the Colts. They've consistently done this in the last couple minutes. And, hey, I wouldn't want to play the fucking Vikings in the playoffs. I certainly wouldn't want to go up against this team that's done these things, especially if they're hosting a playoff game.
I would rather, because right now, if the season ended today, the Giants, we would travel to San Francisco, and then the Redskins would be going to Minnesota. I would almost rather drop a spot and go to Minnesota than play the 49ers. I think in the postseason, the 49ers are a scarier team than Minnesota is right now.
I think that the Niners are a scary team. That defense is really fucking dominant. And even with Brock Purdy, they still have weapons, and they have a play caller who's able to utilize Brock Purdy in the right way. They got Christian McCaffrey at running back on a team where he's not the only fucking threat. Especially once Debo gets healthy. Yeah, that Niners team is fucking nasty. Doesn't really matter who their quarterback is, which is kind of crazy. But Bert, remember for 13 months, says Brady got conned by scam, bankrupt, fraud. Yes, Brady did, along with a lot of other people. Brady did. Now we had a game that, it ended up being more interesting than people thought after the Bengals went up 22-0, but the Bengals do win against the Patriots at home. Mac Jones in hot water for a really fucking dirty play. I don't know if he threw a pick or if it was a fumble or what happened on that play, but
it was a big offensive play. There was a positive play, and then he was running down the field trying to lead block, and he totally jumped in front of Eli Apple's knees.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. And that was a nasty fucking thing for Mac Jones to do.
He's had a few of them.
He has. He's starting to get this reputation for being a just kind of a jerk
player.
Just a fucking jerk. And it was uncalled for. Eli Apple was out of the play, there was no reason to do that. Maybe you're a quarterback and maybe see, hey, I'm going to get a hit on somebody. You don't give me any opportunities. Maybe that's why you did it. But it did look a little sketch to me. But at the end of the day, the Bengals get another win.
Maybe he was trying to make up for that embarrassment, that embarrassing play he had where he just got totally just earthed by Chandler Jones. He just got totally stuffed by Chandler Jones the week before, and he was trying to make it up, trying to seem like, hey, you know what, I can play football. I can lay a hit or a hit stick, and it didn't turn well. I actually think he's being investigated by the NFL. Maybe he's going to be not suspended, but fined. He might have to pay a small fine. I think I saw that this morning on Pat McAfee that he's being investigated for a fine or something like that.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
See, that's kind of crazy. What this reminded me of.
I didn't hear what you said. I think you might have
skipped out for a second.
Yeah.
All right. So what this all reminded me of was actually a play by Ben Roethlisberger. I don't know if you remember this. This was like Ben's fucking rookie year or something. Maybe not rookie or maybe second year when Pittsburgh went to the fucking Super Bowl.
Ben Roethlisberger's shoestring tackle when
Yes.
when Jerome Bettis threw the Jerome Bettis fumbled or something like that.
Exactly.
Willie Parker
Yes.
fumbled.
Yeah. Watch this.
See football.
This sent them to the Super Bowl.
It did. Yes. This is AFC Championship game, I think.
Yep.
You've got to be very excited right now.
Wouldn't it be nice for?
Let's fucking see if we can get a little further without getting dinged.
So this
here.
is Ben's second year.
Yes, second year.
As it comes, the ball is fumbled. And the Colts pick it up. Look out. Oh, Nick Harper has it. He's running. And Big Ben can't. Oh, he tackles.
Yep.
That fucking play by Roethlisberger. Look how far he's done the videos at almost the 50-yard line.
Oh, dude, he took off backwards for sure.
Like, what a crazy play to fucking save that for them.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get a different view of it. This is the fumble was like nearly at the goal line.
It's wrong with a minute 29 left.
This literally saved their season, their entire season.
In a row, quarterback.
Let's get this angle. Here's
Makes
Big
a
Ben.
great play, puts his head on the ball. The Steelers
Athletic from Big Ben right there.
Yep.
are making a shoestring tackle. The game's over the other way.
Now, maybe he gets caught by one of these other guys. I don't think it's out of the question he could have got caught. But, like, seeing Mac Jones, like, in that moment, it just reminded me of that. And it's not like it was a very good attempt by Ben. He did what he had to do. But, you know, like, Chandler Jones just absolutely fucking physically dominated Mac Jones on that play. So.
Yeah, and it's a totally different situation. Like, the Patriots are playing for nothing. The Patriots aren't going to make the playoffs. They're not going to. They're not going on a Super Bowl run. That was in the AFC Championship. Everything's on the line. This was for sure.
Here we go.
This is last year.
It sent them to Denver for the AFC Championship.
Yes, correct.
There you go.
And Jake the Snake Plummer was the quarterback for the Denver Broncos during that season, and I think the reason the Colts lost that game is because their idiot kicker Mike Vanderjack shanked a few kicks in the fourth quarter to help the Colts lose that game to the Steelers, and then the Steelers went on to play the Broncos and Jake Plummer.
Yeah. So now in this play, see, it wasn't when it was when. This is what I was talking about. This Mac Jones play, he wasn't blocking anybody, right? Like, this is a fucking turnover. And look what Mac Jones does.
Oh, it was a turnover.
Yeah, so like that there's no block there. Like, it is a turnover and the Bengals have it. Mac Jones has no chance of getting to him, and look what Mac Jones does.
Yeah, that's a fucking stupid
fucking
idiot
dirty,
play.
dude.
That's an
dirty.
idiot play. Yeah.
He's lucky he didn't fucking hurt him. You know what I mean?
And I think that's why he's being investigated. He's possibly going to get a fine, I think.
Oh,
That's like his
should
fourth
for this.
instance. That'll be like $15K.
Maybe. I don't know. It's not enough. Like, people get fined that for, like, you know, jerking or like fucking doing hip thrusts in the end zone. Like, things that don't matter at all. That's a player safety thing, and that's an intentional player safety thing. It's not like fucking hitting somebody going across the middle and lowing in your helmet because you're trying to get in the right position. That's clearly like an unintentional play. That's a fucking nasty play that could end someone's season. So, even Eli Apple's dog shit for the Giants.
He's been dog shit everywhere. He was dog shit last year in the Super Bowl for Cincy. He
played well. He's played well at times for the Bengals, though. He kind of
like
found
maybe
a role.
2 games.
He kind of found a role. I actually have an autographed Eli Apple picture when he was on the Giants. Funny enough.
God.
But yeah, he definitely has found a home there in Cincy where he's been effective. But anyway, on to the game of the week: Lions versus Panthers. And the Panthers fucking crushed the Lions. Yeah. Crushed Dan Campbell and the Lions. And the Panthers are still in it. They have a matchup against fucking Tampa Bay next week where they can keep their playoff hopes alive.
Are the odds out for that? Is there a line for that? Can we pull that up? I want to see where the money line is on that right now and where the game is being played. Actually, I think it's in Carolina.
It's in Tampa. Tampa Bay's
Tampa?
favored by
Okay.
3. So what that means, Tampa favored by 3 at home means that they think on a neutral field, these are the same teams.
Yeah. I'd almost take Carolina. Just the way the momentum that they have, the way that they've been playing, and considering that the Lions have been somewhat decent the past few weeks, and just, oh man, the way Carolina's been playing, you almost kind of think that that they're going to take that one.
I don't know. They've only won 1 game away from home this year. I will say that. So they've only won 1 game on the road this year. So I don't know, but either way, you know, Carolina, they beat the Lions, and the Lions have had a good year. Lions have had a good year this year.
Yeah, they have.
So you can't take too much away from them. The Falcons get eliminated from playoff contention in a loss to the Ravens. The Ravens are 10-5. They don't feel like a 10-5 team. They feel like a 500 team. But we'll see, you know, Lamar Jackson, if he gets healthy, you know, obviously who knows what they can do,
Right.
but how healthy will he get? And with the last couple of years, I think you're starting to see why the Ravens are hesitant to give him that big money deal that he's asking for when his health is often in question, at least the past couple of years.
Yeah, no, I'm under the belief that Lamar Jackson wishes he would have signed that contract last season, given the season that the Ravens have had and his injury this year. And he's been injured, you know, frequently the past few seasons. It'd have been smart for Lamar Jackson to sign that contract, because now, I mean, regardless, somebody's going to pay him. Somebody is going to pay him the money he wants, but if he wants to stay in Baltimore, I think that his odds would have been better off signing it this past offseason than, you know, what ultimately is going to be his scenario this offseason.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't think he's going to want to be a guy that gets franchise tagged. We'll put it that way.
No.
I think he might sit if that's the case.
Especially, like, he's not scared to take to Twitter. He's not scared to take to Instagram and talk shit.
Yeah. The Texans pull the upset victory after what was a couple games where the Texans are just hanging around, and finally they pull it off against the Tennessee Titans. The Titans season is over. Let's just be real. The Titans season is over without Malik Willis. And
without Tannehill.
Yeah, sorry, without Tannehill and having to start Malik Willis. Like, it's just not gonna fucking work. Now, officially, the Titans are now out of that that AFC South division lead. Jacksonville has now taken that spot. It looks like Jacksonville Jaguars may end up making the playoffs, because I just don't see, you know, not being able to win against one of the worst teams, the worst team in the NFL at home. I just don't see it working for the Titans this year.
Yeah, and the Titans are in an interesting situation. Do they keep going with Tannehill? You know, it got interesting once they traded A.J. Brown. That it really got interesting because you had a team that was they were the number 1 seed last year in the AFC, and it's like you get rid of, like, not your best player but your second best player on offense, and you know, clearly the drop off has been substantial. So it's going to be interesting, the kind of moves they make. I don't think Malik Willis is the guy at all. Do they go after Brady next year? Do they go after another veteran? Or do they try to draft another rookie? Because I think that they are damn near, apart from Derrick Henry, they are in a rebuild mode. If this year doesn't pan out, they are on the cups of a rebuild mode. But they'll keep Henry. But other than that, you know, you can see an entire revamp of that offense soon.
You also got to wonder, I think there's some, you know, valid criticism that could be levied at the Titans for not shoring up their backup quarterback position.
Yeah.
After, you know, Malik Willis is a rookie, and with what you saw in preseason, like, he can't fucking play right now. I don't know. I don't think he'll ever be able to play, but right now he's not a fucking NFL. And so he, to me, is a third string guy. They got Josh Dobbs as their fucking third string quarterback. To me,
should be second.
There's gotta be something else that they can get out there where you're not turning to Malik Willis to desperately try to make the playoffs. So I think there might be a little bit of criticism to be had there for that organization not shoring up that backup quarterback position. Because there's guys, you know, the idea that you can have, in Arizona, Kyler Murray goes down. You got a guy in Colt McCoy. Do you want Colt McCoy as your starter? No. But this guy's had some experience, who's been around the league a little bit, who has something. Instead of bringing in your rookie who you don't trust to throw the fucking ball. So at least what you got in Huntley in Baltimore, he fits the scheme of what they're trying to do. Malik Willis does not fit the scheme of what they're trying to do. Nope. You got to make a new scheme when Malik Willis comes in.
Right.
So. Right. And then the Washington Commanders, lucky for you, Beardo. The Giants lose in the same week that the Commanders also lose. They got dominated by the fucking 49ers. The 49ers are just good. They're just a good fucking team.
Yep.
Maybe the best roster, potentially with the best all-around roster, with the exception of the quarterback position in the NFL. And they continue to show that week after week.
Yeah, I'm looking at Purdy's stats. He went 15 for 22. He had 230 passing yards, 2 TDs, and interception. He's playing like a veteran. He's playing like a veteran, and he shouldn't be. But they're looking really good with Purdy, and it begs the question because with Jimmy G's foot injury, they're saying Jimmy G might be able to come back in for the postseason as long as he sits these next couple of weeks, ending the regular season. He could see a postseason run, but it's like, do you take that risk with the kind of momentum you have with Purdy? And he's playing well. He's not making too many mistakes. He finds the open guy, and a lot of the time the open guy is either McCaffrey or George Kittle. The 49ers are looking very scary. They're looking very good, and apart from the Eagles, given if Jalen Hurts is healthy or not, the 49ers could be the best team in the NFC.
I think that they're in such a good position because it does sound like Garoppolo will be healthy, by the time maybe that first round, maybe by the time the first round comes, but at least by the NFC Championship, right around that area. So he's the perfect guy to do that because until Brock Purdy gives you a reason to, I don't think you should pull him. But
I agree.
If he does make a couple mistakes, you think the moment's too big for him. Jimmy Garoppolo is not a guy who's going to care about sitting. He's not going to care about having to come in halfway through the second quarter. The moment's not going to bother him. I think you have like such an interesting situation there that you can bring in a guy who's been to a Super Bowl, who's played in NFC Championship games before in Jimmy Garoppolo, but you don't have to worry about all the side effects of not bringing him in because the guy you didn't even have starter as going into the year. So I think it's just a good spot for the Niners to be in right now.
They're in a better situation with Purdy and Garoppolo than they would be with Lance and Garoppolo.
Oh, yeah, that's certainly true. Because, you can actually, play with Purdy and Garoppolo as opposed to Trey Lance. But speaking of those Eagles, Gardner Minshew comes in and almost gets it done for the Eagles at Dallas. And you do have to wonder. I like Gardner Minshew. I liked him in Jacksonville. I just I love the way he plays and shit.
Yeah.
But you got to wonder, what that is. That Jalen Hurts is, has a MVP quality season right now. When you're looking at all the momentum that the Eagles have going their way, all these things, they're only their second loss of the season. It comes without Jalen Hurts. But at the same time, Gardner Minshew put up 34 points for that offense. Actually, I think Dak threw a pick six, didn't he?
He threw a few picks? Dak, he threw one. He threw one pick, so it might have been that pick six.
Yeah, he did throw that pick six. But at the same time, you're sitting there and you have, you were fucking competitive with Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
So I think that probably makes the Eagles feel pretty good about going into the playoffs. Hopefully Jalen Hurts can get healthy, but Gardner Minshew is still a quality play at quarterback for them, I think.
Yeah, and I agree. I think Gardner Minshew, he's one of the better backups that you can have in this. But talking kind of like similar to what you're talking about with Tannehill and Malik Willis being two completely different play styles, that's kind of the situation in Philly with Jalen Hurts and Gardner Minshew. With Jalen Hurts out, that changes the entire style of the offense with Minshew. Yeah, Minshew is a veteran and he can get it done, and he's kind of like a Ryan Fitzpatrick. When you need him to step up, he will. But if it's like a meaningless game, Minshew might not play that well. It's that Fitzmagic kind of situation But Minshew kind of plays into that, where Minshew will play up to the level of competition he needs to. But it's two completely different identities with that Philadelphia Eagles offense. With Jalen Hurts, it's a completely different style. With Minshew, it's a completely different style. But I agree. I like Minshew. I like the energy he brings. He's hype. He's a dog. He's like that guy. Like it's hard to root against Minshew, kind of like it's hard to root against Fitzpatrick.
Yeah. And he's a guy who, like, he provides you a little bit of mobility, a little bit of, like, after the play breaks down type of guy, you know what I mean, who can make some things happen we don't expect. I think he's better than Taylor Heineke. You know what I mean? He's kind of just a slightly better version of Taylor Heineke. That's how I view him. And so a lot of the positives that you get with Taylor Heineke, I think you also get with a guy like Minshew. So, but yeah, I mean, they played well and they damn near fucking, came away with the victory in Dallas, really. So,
I don't think this is anything to worry about. I don't think if you're an Eagles fan, I don't think this is a red flag. I don't think this is anything to worry about. This is your backup quarterback. The Cowboys team is a flip of a coin. Is it going to be the same old Dallas, or is it going to be, the better-looking Dallas? Because, Dallas has had a few of those interesting games this year, kind of like the Bills, where they've lost some weird games. They've been in games where it's really odd. And then, they blow teams out. Like, they just completely blow out the Vikings, and then, they lose the next week to whoever. So I don't think this is a red flag for the Eagles at all as Jalen Hurts comes back healthy for the playoffs. I think the Eagles are still the front runner in the NFC, but that 49ers team is very scary. I don't trust Dallas. I still think Dallas is probably one and done in the playoffs. I think they go to the wild card weekend and they lose first round. Yeah. Same old Dallas.
Yeah, I think so too. Eric Cass, you said in the chat earlier that I missed your first super chat. I read that one. That was the one, the amount of wide open people Wilson missed. You would have thought he played for the other team. We did read that one earlier, so we got that one. And then Cassius Victus, what's up, man? For $5, Houston isn't the worst team in the NFL. Denver is. There isn't a single team I would not pick to beat the Broncos in a head-to-head matchup. Suppose it depends if Russell Wilson's playing or not. Brett Rippon's playing. I wouldn't pick the was it the Cardinals? Was it the Cardinals that he beat? Brett Rippon a week before? I think so. But yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah,
Denver is pretty horrific.
I think if Houston and Denver were to play next weekend, I'd take Houston over Denver.
Probably. Although Houston can't be winning any more games. The Bears are hot on their heels for that number 1 overall pick. So they got to be careful. Raiders versus the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. Now, this was a close game, kind of a shit game, but it was a pretty meaningful game. This was when at halftime they honored Franco Harris. They retired his number. Only the third Steeler in history, the vaunted Steelers history. He's only the third player to have his jersey number retired. And unfortunately, this was all planned because it was right around the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception. And Franco Harris died just a few days before this happened. Yep. Very emotional night for the Steelers. But when it comes to the game, they did win. I think 48 seconds left. Pickett threw a touchdown pass to Pickens. I hate the fact that the quarterback and the wide receiver have such similar names. It's really annoying trying to make videos talking about these guys and keeping them straight. But Kenny Pickett does throw that go-ahead touchdown to George Pickens.
Yeah, both rookies. I like George Pickens a lot. I think he has the potential to be a great wide receiver when he becomes a veteran in a few years. Now, Kenny Pickett, I am not sold on. And one of the things is I'm sick and tired year after year after year of these draft experts. And a lot of it is these networks, these sports networks are just always hype up the draft. They always hype up these fucking bum quarterbacks because they always do it. It's year after year. They always hype up these quarterbacks. And, Zach Wilson is a project of that. Trey Lance is a project of that. Mitchell Trubisky. I mean, a lot of these guys, it's like, but the quarterback is so hot that they're so hot in the NFL, and the NFL loves having these all-star quarterbacks making, that they're the face of their team or the franchise, whatever, and they're just not it. And you saw a little bit with Malik Willis this year, too. He had so much hype coming out last year, and it's just like I'm sick and tired of it. That you don't need a quarterback to go number 1 overall every single fucking year. You don't need a quarterback to go top 5 every single fucking year. Sometimes that just isn't the case, and Kenny Pickett is a subject to that too. I don't think Pickett is he wasn't worth a first-round draft pick. I don't think he was worth a second-round draft pick. I don't think he's going to be a starter for very much longer. I don't think, he's – I don't know. That's a little bit of a rant, but – I mean, the Steelers got the win. Yeah, they beat the Raiders. Raiders aren't very good. Derek Carr's, his future's uncertain. But I don't think Kenny Pickett is a starter in the NFL.
The problem is that with a few unique exceptions, say like the San Francisco 49ers this year with Brock Purdy, what he's been able to do.
Yeah.
It's hard to win in the NFL without a competent quarterback. And by competent, I mean like a good quarterback. When you look at, say, the Minnesota Vikings with Kirk Cousins, is Kirk Cousins a great quarterback? No, but he's a good quarterback.
But he wasn't a first rounder.
He wasn't a first rounder either.
Purdy was the last pick in the draft.
But the problem is you're constantly seeing, like, you need that. As a team, you feel like you need that. And as the Pittsburgh Steelers, what did they do? They went out and they got a former first-round pick in Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah.
To be the guy. And then they drafted Kenny Pickett to potentially learn from him. Well, after the first couple games with Mitch Trubisky, everybody found out he's exactly the guy he still was when he left Chicago, basically, for all intents and purposes. And so they roll the dice, throw out Kenny Pickett. And for a franchise that's coming off the Ben Roethlisberger era, they got to feel like they got to do that. They got to have a quarterback. And
they should have drafted a quarterback 2 years earlier. They waited too long.
Ben waited too long. That's really what's happening. Yeah. Ben waited too long. Ben hung on there, even when his arm wasn't really up to the task. He hung in there. And, they drafted a couple of guys. They had a couple projects. Mason Rudolph, before he got fucking, conked in the head by fucking Myles Garrett. He was the project. He was the guy.
Josh Dobbs, too.
Yeah, he was the guy that they maybe thought could do it. Same kind of thing with Green Bay. Maybe they went too early by picking their replacement with Love, and that pissed off Aaron Rodgers. And now I don't know if he's the guy to replace Aaron Rodgers for sure, or when Aaron Rodgers leave, but that's a whole nother topic. We do have one game that is now just getting started, or it's in the first quarter. Chargers versus Colts. Are you going with your man Jeff Saturday and Big Dick Nick Foles, or are you going to pick the Chargers like me?
It's so weird. I'm probably going to pick the Chargers, but I think the Colts are going to keep it competitive. I do like Nick Foles. I do like Jeff Saturday. I don't think the Colts have the best personnel. There's a lot of injuries on their defense. And the Chargers actually have something meaningful to play for. With Jacksonville beating the Jets on Thursday night, the Colts were mathematically eliminated. So the Colts don't really have anything to play for. I think that's another reason why Nick Foles is playing. Is starting the rest of the season, but the Chargers actually have meaning football left to play, so I'm going to take the Chargers tonight over the Colts.
Yeah, I'm taking the Chargers too. Hey, the Colts, this is their, third quarterback this year? Third starting quarterback?
Yeah.
Matt Ryan, I forget his fucking name, and now Nick Foles.
Yeah. Sam Ehlinger.
Sam Ehlinger, that's right. And, Nick Foles has been there, done that. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what he does. Maybe he pulls off, maybe gets them back on the right track for Jeff Saturday and those Colts. But that'll do it for us today. We appreciate you guys hanging out. We appreciate the chat. You guys are awesome. Only a couple weeks of NFL regular season left, so it's a very exciting time. Every game fucking matters. There's only a couple teams. Like, if I go and look right now, what teams have been eliminated? We have 4 teams that have been eliminated in the AFC, and we have 4 teams that have been eliminated in the NFC. So with 2 weeks left to go, 2 weeks left to go. 24 of the 32 NFL teams are still eligible potentially for the playoffs.
That's
so
awesome.
That does make it interesting. That makes it fucking fun. That means we're going to have some last game. So it'll be interesting what the NFL does scheduling wise as well, with flexes and things like that for these games coming up for the final game of the regular season. Beardo, what do you have going on?
Yeah, I might stream. Actually, I am going to stream on my Twitch channel tonight. I'm going to be doing a Resident Evil Village speed run. So that'll be going down later tonight on my Twitch channel. Also, I am 40 followers away on my Twitch channel from hitting 1,000 followers. I'm at like 960 followers. So it'd be awesome before the end of this year. I know it's unlikely, but it'd be really cool before the end of this year to get 1,000 followers over on Twitch. So if you guys like scary horror games, you guys like Resident Evil, I'm going to be playing Resident Evil tonight over on my Twitch channel, and you can follow me at Fear the Beardo on YouTube and Twitter as well. I'm Fear the Beardo across the board, so if you like Fear the Beardo, that's where I'm at.
There you go. All right, guys, thank you for hanging out. We'll see you next week with some more, I'm sure, big game recaps. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.